Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Premodern Showdown Series 3. I'm Michael Hoyp. I'm joined, as always, by Flint Espel. Say hi, Flint.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, tonight you could see our schedule, what we have lined up. Our first match is between Aaron Dix and James Smits. And then we have Jared Doucette against Tom Metelsky for our late night match. So let's jump down to our band screen for our first match. We can see the decks that the players have brought and then which ones they are able to play. So Aaron, his three decks are Survival Elves, Sligh, and Esper Stiflenought. James has Blue Black Stiflenought, five color Sligh, and the Star Spangled Slaughter deck.
I think you mean Angel McAngel Face.
Angel Angel Face. Though I was surprised there was like a poll on Facebook again, and because also someone in context, someone had also I think linked like one that was used 6 months ago where the solution was the highest winner, and again in the Facebook world the solution was the highest vote receiver, even though I feel like the people that speak out about it just say that that is not a fitting name, but that I guess we'll end the name discussion of that deck there.
Fair
Anyways,
enough.
Aaron is not able to bring Sligh that has been banned, and James is not able to bring the Star Spangled Slaughter deck that one's been banned. Do you want to make a prediction for each player what they're going to bring?
Um, I think we're gonna see Devour on Devour action.
Okay. All right. So Flint has made his predictions. Let's go over to the first deck. So Aaron will be playing the Esper Stiflenought deck. So Flint,
All right, batting 1,000.
good work, good work. So if you're not familiar with this deck, it's a pre-modern staple of the top tier decks, and it's something you do really need to respect. You have to think about: do I have the ability to interact with a potential turn one Phyrexian Dreadnought? So how it would do that would be playing the Dreadnought, and then with a Lotus Petal, it would have Stifle or Vision Charm to get around its trigger of having to sacrifice creatures with power toughness 12 or greater. So you end up with a 1 mana 12/12 Trampler. The supporting cast for this deck is Meddling Mage, usually to name a key removal spell that would be able to take out the Dreadnought, or sometimes there's preemptive measures of cards like Counterspell or whatnot. You do get some information if you have Duress them. You can see their hand and then you know what to Meddling Mage. But Duress is another card to kind of clear the way. And then the rest of it is a little bit of consistency with Enlightened Tutor that can get the Dreadnoughts, obviously, and then there's some Silver Bullets, and then there's some counter magic in the deck in form of Daze and Mana Leak. All right, so for the second deck with the that James has brought, he will be playing five color Sligh. So not quite a mirror match. No Dreadnought action. James will be having his
Alas.
five color Sligh that we saw last week, and it's called Sligh, but it almost the sideboard it plays a lot more controlling, I guess, than you might expect a deck with the moniker of Sligh to be. It has a lot of powerful sideboard options and can really disrupt the deck, and then draw into the burn spells or have a clock with the Jackal Pup to continue attacking. But a lot more disruptive than I guess I anticipated when seeing it in practice as compared to just looking at it on paper. Was there anything that a takeaway from the last time you saw it, or do you have any insight of what's going on with this particular matchup?
Um, I just think the major takeaway here is just how much this deck can grind it out. Right, it's not designed to win quickly, whereas the Esper Stiflenought deck is. But the Esper Stiflenought has a little bit of recovery with Enlightened Tutors as well. So I think I'm just most curious to see how the mid game goes in this matchup, because it's unless it ends really quickly, it should be some interesting interactions.
Okay, I'm going to put up the poll nice and early right now as we'll start to go into the key cards, but I'll throw up the prediction poll so you can. Oh, I got to adjust Aaron's name. I keep forgetting that. Okay.
While you do that, I will say that it gets pretty ugly for Aaron after James boards, though.
Yes, there are a lot of options. But okay, let's jump over and see if we can kind of digest what's going on here. So, very insightful that Phyrexian Dreadnought is a key card for this matchup. Yeah, Aaron wants to play the threat early. There aren't too many answers that James has it in the pre-boarded games, and if it comes down quicker, it's less likely that James will have the time to set up. And the 12-12 does a really good job of racing traditional Sligh decks, so that's something that Aaron's looking for. And then the dynamic changes a lot with the sideboarded games in this matchup, and enchantments are really important from James's perspective. So a card like Annul, there's only 2 copies for Aaron in the sideboard, but it is a really quick, clean, and efficient answer to kind of the reactive cards that James will be looking for the Phyrexian Dreadnought. And so looking at that, there is a main deck copy of Seal of Cleansing in the 5-color Sligh deck, and then there's the 4 Enlightened Tutors to go get it. And that will be the cleanest answer that James has to a resolved Phyrexian Dreadnought. And there's also additional copies of that in the sideboard, as well as stuff like Disenchant, but I put up Seal Cleansing for that. And then an interesting sideboard card, which I've thought about sometimes when I'm deck building and never really get to put it into play. So I'm really excited to see Arcane Laboratory come into play, because obviously when this is in play, you can let them cast their Phyrexian Dreadnought all you want, because if they're not going to be able to follow up with a Stifle or Vision Charm, their 12-12 is just going to die. So that is something to look out on the sideboard. So, and again, this is another card that can be tutored with the Enlightened Tutor. So let's jump on down to the match and get things started. But if you want to let them know they're ready to go. So
Done.
I will just like to take this time that we have subscriptions from Kevin Cosnerino. So thank you for that. And as well as Centernet Troll has gifted a sub to Homeburger. So thank you for the generosity.
All right. Heads up play here. Turn 1 Polluted Delta Crack. We're going to see a little... Does he run Lotus Petals in this list, Mike?
Yeah.
All right.
Or you're talking about Aaron.
Petal.
Yeah. I guess James's form of Lotus Petal is Mox Diamond. So
it's a little spendier.
Yeah. All right.
There it is.
Okay, so he has the potential of doing his quick thing, and I'm going to guess that's
Do you
what
think he's going to follow that up with anything?
Yes. The good thing I got the poll up quick. I anticipated something like this happening, so. So it looks like Vision Charm is the card that will phase the Dreadnought out.
Yep.
So when it comes back in, it will not trigger its come back into play ability. Aaron is a true genius player. How did he think of this move? Yes.
When you see a follow-up Seal Cleansing.
That would be pretty good. I think James needs something like, I guess he needs Enlightened Tutor or Seal Cleansing probably pretty quick, because he's gonna, so his life total is gonna go down quickly. All right, first attack. Oh, James is, wait, does he have? Oh, he is. Okay, so he can tap it down. All right. He's using the Fire Ice. So not a permanent solution, but it will give James time to try and do something. So,
but it is a temporary solution for permanence.
Yes.
He does decide to daze that, so he is going to take the Sweet Beats.
Okay.
Hardcast days, no less.
Yes, the rare form. Oh, we
it's the alternative cost.
Oh, so this Enlightened Tutor, but if he doesn't have another white source, I think it'll be too late, right?
Yeah. I mean, he must, or he wouldn't have gone for the.
Well, he could. I guess yeah. Well, if he, I'm trying to think. No, I was gonna say maybe he's trying to bait out the days or the mana leak, but okay. So he puts the seal cleansing on top, and he does have another land.
Does Aaron have a second days?
Well, that would be a reason why he might not have picked up the island. Okay.
Yeah. All right, that's game.
And yeah, so nice and quick, kind of somewhat expected. I mean, the James's deck does have a lot more outs to a resolved dreadnought than a traditional Sligh deck,
Oh
but
yeah.
still, it's a uphill battle. I think for the game one. All right, so let's move on over to the decks and let's look at the sideboard here. So I think we kind of talked. I don't know if it was Hydroblast specifically, but we talked about a lot how the cards that are in James's sideboard, or kind of which tend to be in post-boarded games, the relevant cards aren't red. So a card like Hydroblast has a lot of targets, but it's not really it's not going to be fighting the cards that you want. Like, yeah, it can stop a ball lightning, it can destroy a jackal pup, but it's not preventing any of the things that really matter. So I don't know if Hydroblast is a card that comes in. The Annuls, I definitely expect them to be big role players in these sideboard games. A card like Mother of Runes is interesting because James has few ways to kill the dreadnought, but the problem is the rest of the deck typically will have a bunch of bird spells or something like a curse scroll, or so the Mother of Runes might not be able to stick around, but I could see those coming in as well. Uh, then I would expect that. I guess there already is a Seal of Cleansing in Aaron's main. I would anticipate the other one coming in to fight Seal Cleansings and Arcane Laboratory, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not exactly sure what's coming out. I guess Winter Orb, I could almost assure you that that card is coming out, because not only can James deck be aggressive, but he has a Mox Diamonds to support it, so the Winter Orb is not very effective. What cards are you looking to take out, I guess, in this matchup?
Um, maybe meddling mage.
Okay.
I don't know. It just doesn't seem as good given all the various burn spells um, that James has. Do you think there's anything to Null Rod for the Mox Diamonds and Curse Scroll, or is that too French?
You'd have to take out your Lotus Petals. I mean, I guess you wouldn't have to because your Lotus Petals probably like needed most on turn one, but um, I don't know. It's not usually
It
the
doesn't
fight I
seem,
would
yeah.
want, but I guess like maybe having the one copy because you have Enlightened Tutors isn't that bad. But because you could also like maybe just kind of cut James off of a color or the other colors if
Maybe.
he's relying on a Mox Diamond. But I don't know. I
I,
don't think
I
I
don't think
would.
I'd
But
bring it in. Yeah, I don't think
it
I'd bring it in.
all right. So sideboard cards for James. So lots of cards. So these Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast seems good. Disenchant seems great. Seal Cleansing seems great. Arcane Laboratory seems good. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 cards. What are we taking out? Some bullets like Engineered Plague. I could see Sylvan Library coming out, but I also could see it staying in. I don't know if Standstill goes in and out. Um, I mean, then maybe like Fire Ices go out just because you're bringing in a lot more impactful cards.
And does James go the route to take out his burn, or do you think he leaves it in? Like the
Uh,
lightning bolts, the seal of fire, the incinerates.
I think you want a good amount of it in because of cards. Like if Meddling Mage or Mother Runes are there, you do want ways to deal with them. So I wouldn't take out all of them. I mean, maybe you can shave a little bit because I would expect the games to go a little bit longer since you do have those interaction pieces. But I think some of the burn is still something that you want.
It's really interesting. He has almost too many cards to board in.
Yeah. Or just, I mean, well, I think the way he kind of structures his game plan is he's not as much of a Sligh deck. He's like play a threat or have a looming source of damage and then really disrupt what players are doing, because you see a deck that like Aaron's that's so streamlined of doing one thing. If you're really able to break that up, then it's a lot harder for Aaron to do stuff. It's not like a meddling mage is likely to go the distance just as a 2/2. So Aaron really needs to do one thing, and James has a lot of ways to break it up, and so James can kind of just find a way to win at that point. His cards are much better at doing that than Aaron's. So
Looks like we've got some love for Standstill here in chat. Mike Arnold saying good for the card advantage instead of the card disadvantage role that these decks tend to have.
yeah, the one thing is like James doesn't always come out like with an early like Jackal Pup or something, so he might not have a threat on the board, and then you're just sitting with a standstill, and he can't really progress the board in any way or shorten the clock. So, but I mean, one copy is not gonna like make or break anything, but
Right.
I can anticipate a lot of situations where the standstill isn't very good. All right, we see a turn 2 Mox Diamond from James, so I always think of Ball Lightning when it comes to 3 mana. I don't know if that's what's coming out right away, but
He's doing something. Oh, taking a point. 3 mana.
oh, that looks
Arcane
like
Lab.
Arcane Laboratory. And it looks like Aaron has a response, which could be Annul, Mana Leak, or Daze, I think, are the interaction spells that he has for this. And he does
There's the
have
Annul.
an Annul. So both players kind of, I think, having key cards in their hands for the sideboard games, and now Aaron has an opportunity. Okay, I was to say like shields are kind of down from James, but even though you'd also like kind of worry, because if you spend your 2 cards for a Dreadnought, James could have Seal Cleansing, Disenchant, or Enlightened Tutor in all those situations, and so that's a good number of cards that he could still have to respond to a resolved Dreadnought.
When we are seeing a tutor here from James, I think at the end of Aaron's turn.
Do you just go for the Arcane Lab again? Do you okay? So he goes for a Seal Cleansing. Well, I guess this is not at the end of turn. I guess this is during his upkeep.
Upkeep.
So I guess if you don't have a third mana, it would make sense to get a 2 mana answer. Yeah, I do agree. Like in this matchup, that the white splash, like a card like Meddling Mage, is not very good against the red deck, just because there's so much redundancy to remove the Meddling Mage. It's not really a good way to lock the opponent out.
All right, so he's going to take that point and go to 18 and run out the seal. Wow, another Annul. Okay. But a blast in response. And a date. All right. That seal is not going to hit the board.
Andy was asking if James is not full screen. Uh, I'm just looking at. It looks like his graveyard is like cropped out, but mostly it's pretty representative of what his playmat is.
Yeah, we can see it on our screen. It's a little cut out, but we can still see it.
right, so Enlightened Tutor is going to go find a Dreadnought.
Dreaded not.
Yeah, they're just like slightly out of frame. Um, they're just like I can see the corner of them on my screen, so they're just cropped out on the stream. I think it just has to do with how my layout is. All right, so Vision Charm is the card, so that's kind of a built-in protection for the sorcery speed. Though I guess most of James's can interact at instant speed, whether it be seal or disenchant. Okay, looks like it was a quick pass from James. And the Dreadnought will come back and is this an ice?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, saving 12 life and drawing a card is pretty good. Like, would that card be good enough? Like, one blue, gain 12 life, draw a card.
I'd play it. Of course, it would be blue.
I mean, nowadays, they could print it white in Modern Magic, and I'm sure that card will get, because it replaces itself, it'll get played. Like, I mean, if it were just one white, gain 12, I mean, I guess it would be a sideboard card, but there are certain matchups where that still card wouldn't like do anything. Okay, that is a disenchant. So that is a permanent solution to a problem that James is currently facing.
Oh, Dreadnought down.
And it resolves. So notice that Aaron does not have access to white mana currently, so that could clog up some of the cards in his hand. And then also it's kind of like you have to assemble your 2-card, and I guess it has Limbo's Vault, but other than that, it's kind of just Aaron playing off the top. So we see the good Jackal Pup come into play, and now James has a source of damage that he can start clocking Aaron. So I like James's position now that he's answered the Dreadnought, but it's not like assuredly that he's just going to run away with this.
Sure.
The clock of the pup isn't super fast. Okay, well.
Oh wow, another artifact and enchantment removal card.
But there is one thing to remember is that if Aaron does get white mana, he does have Seal of Cleansing of his own. So that is something that Aaron might have as a preemptive measure to protect a Dreadnought that he's looking to resolve. But I guess from James's perspective is there's less Seal Cleansings than there are like Vision Charms, and Vision Charm is a way to protect against a Seal Cleansing if you're doing it later. Like if you use like a Seal Cleansing as a sorcery speed. But I guess Aaron would need to have Stifle and Vision Charm right away for that to work out in Aaron's favor. All right, white mana is available now to Aaron.
Flooded Strand.
The Flooded Strand, so Aaron wasn't cracking that Polluted Delta. I'm guessing it's just because he's valuing his life total more than the ability to thin out the deck. Because I guess without Portents in his list, I guess I can't think of any reason for him to keep the Polluted Delta other than life.
I mean, I guess there could be a scenario where he limb duels vaults and gets 1 or 2 cards he wants and then wants to shuffle away the rest. But I think probably saving life is what he's after.
Yeah, that is another reason. So, all right, we see an Enlightened Tutor is being casted, and the other Arcane Laboratory is the card of choice.
Game is slipping away here. He's still got a few draw steps, obviously, but he's up against a lot of answers.
Yeah, and I mean this is kind of really what we had seen before, that James's deck becomes a lot more of a disruptive. I don't even know if a aggro, because the Jackal Pup came down on like turn 5 or 6.
It's pretty late.
And so a lot of James's time and resources were spent preventing or disrupting the combo of Phyrexian Dreadnought, and then he found the threat to start clocking Aaron. So Mana Leak is a card that Aaron had waiting, so he's able to get rid of the Arcane Lab. Because if that resolves, then he just needs to find Seal Cleansing.
And he's cracking the Flooded Strand here, so we may see an Enlightened Tutor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this Seal of Cleansing? I guess
Probably.
it's possible that he has 2 copies of Vision Charm and or Stifle, because either of those, you could either stifle the ability of Seal Cleansing, or you could Vision Charm to phase out the Dreadnought to protect it.
Nice.
All right, Seal Cleansing.
There's a fair probability. James has, 1 card in hand? Could be a blast. He's got 1 mana untapped. He's going to draw it. All right. Aaron's clawing his way back in.
Do you know how many cards are in Aaron's hand?
At least 2.
All right. He's not shuffling his hand with 1 card. All right, James has
bad ball.
3 mana for the Ball Lightning. This is not quite lethal. This is 8 coming in for Aaron when he's at 9. But
I was just gonna skip him up.
Okay. So looks like the sideboard plan really came to fruition for James, and was able to take care of a resolved Dreadnought to even things up. Let's
Pretty good.
go look at. I guess we can look at James's sideboard a little bit. So we did see the Fire Ices still in there. So I'm curious to think of the cards that he's taking out. I mean, I guess it does make sense of like if how Fire Ice is used is, I mean, it's efficient in terms of preventing an attack from a Dreadnought, and it replaces itself. But
Yeah, I think I would take out a Bolt or an Incinerate before I would take out Fire Ice, just given the flexibility in this match.
sure, I can see taking out Incinerate, that it's like pretty clunky and does not do a lot.
I wonder if he takes out the Mog Fanatics, leaves in the Pups, the Lavamancers, and the Ball Lightnings.
Yeah, I guess the only like thing that Mogfanac does well is like a response to a Mother of Runes, but I don't even know if Aaron's on that plan. And it's not like you're cold to that. There's still Fire Ice Bolts, Seal of Fire, and whatnot to put the shields down for a Mother of Runes.
Looks like chat has fallen in love with the 5-color Sligh deck. What about you, Mike? Are you falling in love with the 5-color Sligh?
I really like the gameplay of it. Like it because it feels like you just have so much control of the game. Like, and not in the aspect of like an actual control deck, but like sometimes the bad feelings of the Sligh deck is you're super focused and trying to make the game end in 4 turns. And when you play against a card like Phyrexian and Dreadnought or certain combo decks, you can just die to those. And I mean, typically the Sligh deck will have like some form of like Pyroblast or Red Elemental Blast to interact with some of those decks. But the sideboard is just really what's awesome of how the tempo of the deck goes from like kind of an aggressive deck, I mean a slower aggressive deck, to this just really heavily disruptive deck. So I'm really enjoying the sideboard games out of the Sligh deck. What do you think?
Yeah, I've liked it since he played it back in one of the online tournaments that I think Whack Whack
I
and
think it was the
ran.
Winter Blast, or maybe it was the Midsummer Revel.
It was one of those. He played it in that, and I think he made top 8. And I saw it and I was like, "Wow, this deck is awesome." Um, but I've been wanting to build it and play around with it, but I haven't done it yet. But it seems to be doing well with it here in the series.
Yeah. All right. I think the players are doing mulligan stuff, so I think James just sent his hand back. Robin says it was the Winter Blast, though Gabe said it was Spring Fling, so
I think it was whatever tournament Robin ended up winning with Full English Breakfast.
that was the Winter Blast. He got second. Okay. I was about to say that, but
Second.
but I wasn't sure. I didn't want
He
to.
won it. He won in my book by getting that far with Full English Breakfast. So
All right. Do you, if James is on 6 and on the draw, do you think Aaron is advantaged?
yeah, I do. Um,
I'm still feeling the Sligh deck. I don't. It just. I mean, I guess you could have a hand that has it all, but it seems kind of difficult to put all your eggs in a basket when James has a number of ways to uh, answer a dreadnought.
yeah, I mean, I think in Aaron's position, he wants to mull really aggressively and try to play a turn one dreadnought. Um, that's what he needs to do in this matchup. The longer this game goes, the harder it gets for him.
Well, he's leading with the swamp, so that could be a duress. Gabe, I think we were asking when did he top 8 with it? Like when did it become a public known quantity? All right, so duress is cast, and
You
James
want to take this bolt?
James offers up one of the 2 lightning bolts, but no, instead Enlightened Tutor uh, takes it. So yeah, now James's hand is looking a lot closer to a traditional Sligh deck, which in general does not do that well against the Dreadnought. So if Aaron is able to slam a Dreadnought on the next turn, which is very possible, then James will be looking to the top of his deck to find an answer.
We should have both players at 19 here.
Okay.
Dual fetch lands.
All right. Looks like Aaron. Okay, so Aaron either doesn't have it or he's being extra cautious since he has a second duress. And it looks like not another land.
Oh, that is rough.
Interesting.
I mean, yeah, he's going to clear out a couple problematic cards maybe, but James just has so many answers in his deck. If he has time to draw those answers, it gets pretty rough for Aaron. We do see a pedal. Just going to jam it here.
Looks like
All
it.
right.
So James is looking for a red blast here. Oh, okay. Or I would say disenchant, seal cleansing, enlighten tutor. Well, I guess it not enlighten tutor because I think he would have played the City of Brass.
Yeah.
Jackal Pup gets attack because the Dreadnought is phased out and not ready to block. But that is true. Andy talks about no island equals no days, so If though James's like 3 mana cards are usually like preventative measures. Most of his responses to a Dreadnought are 2 mana. Right, so the bolt was fired off. So I guess that means I think that James is trying to race. Because I think otherwise, if you're playing to... Oh,
there's a seal.
All right.
That might seal the game.
That is a good one.
Hey, who?
I meant the play and the draw, not your
Oh,
joke.
darn it.
But I guess you could interpret it as you wish.
Taking the wind out of my sails, as usual.
All right. Dreadnought comes back, and there's no blue mana at that point, so that is a clear opportunity for James to get rid of the Dreadnought.
Yeah.
And things look good for the 5-color Sligh deck right now.
Oof. Another bolt.
Yeah, Seal Cleansing is definitely pulling its weight. And,
How rude. How rude, James.
There's another one.
Aaron's just going to turn him over.
I got a bunch of counter magic and no blue mana. All right, I'll switch over to our screen. We can maybe listen into the players as they discuss a few things.
That's why we keep coming back, right? If they were all the same, it wouldn't be fun. Man, I'm like, okay, duress. Okay, what's that last card? We'll just double check what that last card is. Okay, we're feeling good.
Yeah.
Just any blue mana, anything. Give me an island. Why couldn't it have been an island?
I know. Well, and that's why, like, when you played the second turn duress, I was like, ooh, maybe he doesn't have it.
No,
so I was like, oh, maybe I have a chance here. And then just like ripped the Seal of Cleansing. I'm like, oh, maybe I do have a chance here. And then I think I even had an extra up for days, but obviously no island. So, yeah, oof, that was lucky. So I mean, I brought in 11 cards here.
Yeah, I did 5. I mean,
yeah. I obviously have a lot here. Arcane. That's in game 1. I had the Arcane Lab, but then I tutored for the Seal because I was only on 3 lands. I think I had a 4th land. I just wanted to play around days as much as possible. They're all giving me some optionality. Of course, then you but Arcane Lab is quite good.
I mean, game 2, I thought I played through the hate. I thought you had to be running out of hate. I had the answers when I needed them. Kept that hand on the strength of the 2 annuls. Game 3, I thought I had the start, ripped the hand apart.
And then
both games, I felt like I had you in top deck mode, but man, your top decks were strong.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. I thought game 1 was a bit of a coin flip. I thought games 2 and 3 would be in my favor. Obviously, I was just drew very hate-heavy hands. Oh, it's certainly game 2. Game 3, I just had the rip. So that will do it. But,
sure.
I guess Flint and Mike are probably listening to us, but we don't.
Probably. I have them unmuted now.
Oh, you do? I've just been talking.
We're always listening.
Yeah. I'm sure everyone gets sick of my voice, so it's good to listen into you guys.
Oh, my camera went down. 1 second.
Yeah, so to some, I got lucky. Game 3.
Dino Adventure, thank you for the follow.
Refresh, I'm so sorry.
That's fine. Yeah, so I think that was kind of my impression. James, you said that the first game was favored for the Stiflenought player, but then the post board, your sideboard does a lot of work, which I think is going to be true with a lot of the times when you play that deck. And it is the part of the 5-color Sligh deck that I like the most is how the sideboard of games go.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I mean, the first, because he had turn 1 Dreadnought combo, and
Yeah.
I was trying to delay the game with Fire Ices, but I knew I was kind of getting nowhere with that hand as well. So I think you had a Daze on a on a Sealed Cleansing, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, game 1 I had the kind of ultimate hand. Like there was that's the one I dreamed for in this deck. The other games were
Game 2 was a pretty good hand too. It was 2
Yeah, no,
I had a pretty good hand too. So.
Like I said, this is the first time I think I've ever played this deck where I haven't had to mull at least one game in a match. So
yeah,
I felt good about my hands each time.
Yeah, and I felt good games 1 and 2 that I didn't get hit with a first turn duress. Obviously very strong here as well. So like game 3, turn 1, turn 2 duress. My top deck changed things, but duress is brutal against me as well because it kind of just throws off rhythm. Which, especially in this matchup, if I can't establish something in the first like 3 turns, it's game over. It's kind of what happened game 1. But,
Right.
Yeah. I figured out this is the matchup I was going to be playing as well. Just I think this deck's pretty good against elves too. So, I was surprised you banned the Patriot deck. I think it's no offense. I'm starting to really not like it, but maybe. So now I'm going to be stuck playing it the rest of this tournament. But.
Well, it's funny. I was actually talked this over with Mike Arnold, who was a great sounding board for this, and we discussed it. And I said, I think I have to ban Patriot because I think it has them. I went in assuming Sligh would get banned. Looking at your decks, I assumed Sligh would get banned, and I had to ban the thing that was the best against these 2 decks. And I looked at the Patriots. The Patriot list. You were absolutely loaded against elves, like your sideboard with the Pyroclasms and with the Slice and Dice and what else was in there? I mean, the main deck swords and the Fire and Ice. I mean, it's just it's a brutal deck to try to get through. So I felt like it had game against Stiflenought as well with the disruption and the swords and looking at it, I thought that had the most game against both decks that I expected to have.
Yeah, and Dreadnought plays Enlightened Tutor, which is predicting an Enlightened Tutored card is brutal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was happy that I looked at your decks and I'm like, oh, there's no Wastelands. So that certainly made my day a bit easier. But you and I have both talked about that, like the 5-color Sligh matchup versus Sligh is just horrendous. After this tournament, I'll be putting a Warmth in, I think, as we discussed in the board.
Yeah.
That was your idea. I'll credit you there. Because I think that makes the matchup a bit better, but still terrible. So I kind of knew that I had to ban the Sligh. And obviously you play it probably better than anyone I know, certainly. So
thank you. That's way too kind.
Yeah, I think it's kind of obvious, but so
Flint plays a strong Sligh.
Yeah,
garbage compared to yours.
Is Flint on the bauble game or not, though? That's the question.
Depends on the day of the week.
Okay, yeah, I think I'm now on the bauble train.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great. But yeah, that was kind of my logic there. And then I thought elves versus what I was left with was going to be rough. So I figured Dreadnought. So I was kind of nervous, but
no. Good game. It actually played out a lot, pretty similar to the way I thought it would. I'm glad I got to see the sideboard cards against you, like to be able to interact with some of the brutal hate that you bring to the table.
Yeah,
that was nice, but it was tough to play against.
Do most Esper Stiflenought builds play Mana Leak? I'm trying to remember because I played the deck in the tournament. I don't think they do, right?
No, they usually play Portent, and Aaron has Mana Leak over the Portents.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Mana Leak was quite good in game 2.
I think that moving forward, I think I have so many things that tap for blue. I think I could play regular old Counterspell or Prohibit I think I'm gonna try out Prohibit after
Do you
this.
think Prohibit's too mana intensive though? Or no, is Prohibit the 1 blue, 1 colorless one?
Yeah, and it counters
Okay.
counters 2 or less, and then if you kicker it for 2 more, it's 4 or less.
Everything I want to counter is 2 or less.
Yeah,
so-
like most of the cards that answer a Dreadnought are going to be 2 or less.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Yeah, I've been thinking about how to use Miscalculation better as well. Because in this circumstance, you could sub it out for the mana leak, and then it is both kind of like a mini portent and also a hard counter.
There you go.
Which is interesting, but yeah. I don't know, Mike or
James-
Flint, did you have any questions? Oh, go ahead.
I'm curious because we've been talking about the 5-color Sligh deck, both in chat and then on the stream, and you obviously have the toolkit package, right? I'm wondering, I know that you tinkered with your sideboard probably for this meta, but the main deck looks pretty similar to past versions. Maybe Plague is a new addition. I don't remember if that was in the old version or not, but
Yeah.
and is there anything that you would change in your toolkit package for the current meta, like if you were going to run it in a monthly?
So the fire ice is new for this tournament as well. Certainly that was like a meta choice. I think it's better. I'm trying to remember what exactly. I took like Flame Rifts out. And, I don't know. Flame Rift I realized was just terrible. Because it was just killing me. Is there anything I'd change? Honestly, I've never found I brought the defense grid in. So I'd probably change that out of the board. I'd maybe take out the Sulfuric Vortex, actually. Because honestly, I don't kill fast enough for it to be advantageous for me necessarily. And the life gain piece, I don't think life is super heavy in the meta anymore. I'm trying to think what else I'd do. It's probably just some of the Enlightened Tutor package. Because the problem is, every time I play adjust or have to take out things that actually kill my opponent, it just makes my game a bit more difficult. So even right now, I think I'm pretty thin on actually like win condition. After the board, I think I can do fine because I can kind of become more of a control deck. So maybe it's honestly bringing in more control elements into the main deck as well. I could see doing that, and just kind of admitting to myself that I'm not a Sligh deck. Like upping on Grim Lavamancer, coming down on some other things. Yeah, I have to think on that. Would you change anything? I'm curious.
I'm not sure. I mean, I know we talked about it a couple months ago, and I
Yeah.
had mentioned Fire Ice because I had started to run it in some of my decks, just given all the elves and goblins running around. But yeah, I don't know. I really like Sylvan Library in the deck, just given that your games are going to go a little longer and you do have fetch lands, but we haven't seen it in action very much either, so I don't know how good it's been for you.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not, unless I'm already in control, it's not very frequently my Enlightened Tutor first pick. If I feel like I'm in a commanding position, or I'm just like, I just need to be drawing win con, then that's when I'll go after the Sylvan Library. But at the same time, it's, you're lapping yourself every time you have to Enlightened Tutor for something. And generally I want something that is actionable the turn that I am receiving it. Otherwise it's going to, there's a strong chance it gets disrupted in some way. So that's perhaps like, that's why like Sulfuric Vortex comes to mind. It's a slow card to be burning through, like, my most powerful tool theoretically. I still like the Curse Scroll in it just because it wins games. And it's also very good in the meta. A lot of things have 2 toughness. Yeah. I have to think. No, I think it's pretty. Fire Ice is very good. Also, Fire Ice I think helps a lot in this matchup as well. Just because I can buy myself a turn or two. It's also like, oh, I can draw a card. Wow, Sligh deck draws a card, and it wasn't from an Urza's Bauble. It's incredible. So yeah, that's kind of my thought there.
Got some Raiders joining from Rich Bork's channel, so welcome Raiders. We are
Hey guys.
just finished up the first match, and we will be shortly going on a break and then starting our second match of the night. So we're just wrapping things up with the players right now.
Stick around. We got 2 new players coming up in a few minutes.
What were the bans in the second match?
I don't remember offhand.
It's Jared versus Tom, right?
Yeah.
Well, you got
I just want to
stay
see
tuned.
Psychatog.
Yes.
You got to stay tuned,
Oh,
yeah.
James,
No?
and we'll talk
Yeah.
about it.
Oh,
I'll get-
I'm
See
on
you
the
in
East
chat.
Coast. I'm on the East Coast. Typically, I'd like go to bed 11. After these things, I can't sleep. I'm just-
Yeah,
Yeah, get that adrenaline going. Absolutely.
Either I'm like mad at myself or excited for more pre-modern.
Awesome. Well, good games, guys.
Oh.
They were fun to watch.
Good
I'll
game.
see you guys in
yeah.
chat. Good games for
Yeah,
sure.
it's fun. Thanks.
Congrats, James. Good luck next week, Aaron.
Thanks. See you, folks.
All right, I'll bring up the schedule. So we are going to be starting with Jared and Tom. I guess I can bring up the standings. I did put together a standing. It's kind of interesting. I didn't realize it was like this. Pretty clean split right now. We got everyone just pretty much at the same spot. There's 4 people tied for first, and then 4 people tied for last. So half the people are 2-1, and the other half are 1-2. I guess with that match, we have James bumping up to 3-1, and Aaron falling to 1-3. So a little bit of separation from the pack as compared to consolidating it even more. But yeah, this is something in our other 2 series we did not have. I feel like we kind of had someone who kind of jumped to the early lead and kind of stayed there. So it's anybody's game right now. Any one of these 8 players could easily make the top 4 and then take down the Premodern Showdown Series. So this is what we're looking at. And so up next we have Jared against Tom. So another 2-1 against a 1-2. So we'll see how that goes. In the meanwhile, I'm going to run some quick friends of the show. So other Premodern resources, if you're not familiar, things that you can either reach out to learn more about the format, or friends of the show that you can support as well. So we'll run those while we get our other players set up, and then we will begin our second match between Jared and Tom. All right, everybody, we are back from our break. We have Jared and Tom set up, and they are ready to play. So let's go down and figure out what decks they're playing. So I guess not quite yet. We'll talk about their bands first. So Jared's deck, he has the Red-Green Goblins, Draco Blast, and 5-color Terrageddon, while Tom has Mono Red Goblins, Psychatog, and the Devourer combo. So Jared's 5-color Terrageddon deck has been banned, and Tom's Mono Red Goblins has been banned. So do you have any predictions, Flint, of which deck Jared's going to bring and which deck Tom's going to bring?
I think Jared's going to run Draco Blast, and Tom is going to run Psychatog.
Okay, let's move over to our decks and figure things out. So first up, we have Jared on Draco Blast. So
All right.
if you're not familiar with this deck, it is a red-black aggro combo, or mid-range combo. I guess I don't know how to classify it, but most of the elements have some disruption elements in terms of duresses and hypnotic specters, and then the controlling elements are pretty light in terms of like lightning bolts and grim lavamancers and terminates and whatnot. There's the important card in terms of Dark Ritual that can accelerate a Phyrexian Arena and set up a long game and can play an attrition battle, or it can power out a Hypnotic Spectre to try and disrupt the opponent's hand right away. But then it also has another element with Insidious Dreams, and this can, for the cost of discarding cards, you can put cards from your deck on top of your library. And traditionally what you'll do with this deck is if you discard 2 cards, you can put both Draco and Erratic Explosion on top of your deck, and then draw the Erratic Explosion to cast that card and flip over a Draco and deal 6 damage to any one target. So
16.
Oh, 16, yes. 6 would not be very impressive. Yes. 16 damage. So it has a lot of reach if you get to the point of where you've dealt some damage to them and you've got things under control and you can cast that Insidious Dreams and you have another turn to do it, then you can close out the game real quick. So really powerful element to this red-black deck. And yeah, it's really interesting to play because it does have kind of different speeds. Sometimes it's the aggressor, sometimes it's trying to push out the Hypnotic Spectre and disrupt their hand, and sometimes it can just pick things off and try and chip away their life total, get them to 16, and then stay alive long enough to resolve an Insidious Dream. So it'll be really interesting to see either the matchup or how the hands draw out for Jared, how he's going to play this deck. So, and then Tom is playing none other than Psychatog. So Flint, you want to talk about the blue-black Dr. Teeth deck?
Yeah, we've seen it a couple times, or at least once already, right? So basically, Tom is looking to make the game go as long as possible, eventually land a Psychatog and swing in for a lethal hit, ideally with Wonder in the graveyard. So he has that sweet, sweet flying and deal a lot of damage in one turn. It's actually a fairly resilient deck, especially this version that Tom's been running. He's had a lot of success with it. I think he said that he was undefeated with it for like something like 15 games in a row in other tournaments. And we saw him very briefly. You and I did some commentary, right? Uh, about a month and a half ago now, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
We saw him play and do well with it then. We've seen him play and do well with it here in the series. Be interested to see how he does against this Draco Blast deck with the disruption that it brings with the Fiends and Hypnotic Specters and things like that. But I got to give Tom credit. He's really done the Psychatog deck justice, given that it's super nostalgic, I think, for a lot of us. And he's managed to get a lot of W's with it.
Okay, I am going to quick type up the prediction for the second match. Do you want to talk briefly about our sponsor for the Premodern Showdown Series this season?
Yeah, so CardSphere was nice enough to sponsor the series, and CardSphere is a really cool service where you can trade cards, and it uses a point system. But there's something that's very different about the point system that they use compared to older services like Puka Trade. And Mike, you are more familiar with the differences in those systems. So maybe you can jump in and explain that, because I think a lot of people, when they hear of CardSphere, they think it's the same thing as Puka Trade.
Yeah, the all the points or credits are in there are backed by actual dollars, so it doesn't have the issues that previous services had with terms of inflation and whatnot, that the points got hyperinflated and the economy crashed. Everything's backed by actual U.S. dollars, and you do have the ability to cash out at a percentage if you want to do it. So you could do that way if you just, I'm going to use this service to sell cards. That's something you could do. But the economy aspect is a lot more stable because it is backed by actual dollars.
Absolutely. And I know we've had players in the series use them and have really good things to say about them. And so definitely check them out if you haven't. It's a nice alternative to finding cards in addition to some of the other more mainstream versions. And it seems like their prices or their points or credits are pretty fair. So definitely go check them out if you haven't.
All right.
Looking to get into pre-modern, get some cards, check out CardSphere.
I brought up key cards and I brought up one from last week, so now we got ones that look a little bit better. So out of the Draco Blast deck, I'm not exactly sure what cards are the most important from Jared's perspective. I can see it going a lot of different ways, but an interesting aspect is if he does resolve an early Phyrexian Arena, he will have a constant stream of card advantage that's difficult for Tom to remove, and could really help him grind things out. And then a card like Duress can not only give him an idea of what Tom's up to in an early game, but could either protect a key spell. I mean, I don't know if it will be Insidious Dreams because there's so many counter spells in Tom's deck, but it might just clear the way for something like a Hypnotic Spectre that can really disrupt things. So that's what I picked for the Draco Blast deck. Looking at the Tog deck, Psychatog's an important card if it's the way that Tom will need to close out the game, and it's pretty difficult for Jared to remove. He does have a couple of terminates, but if once that comes down, it could be problematic for Jared. And then Factor Fiction is one of the card engines for card advantage engines for Tom. You could pick Accumulate Knowledge as well, but it's a way that if he is going card for card, that he can gain an advantage and play a powerful card draw spell and kind of get up on that aspect. So it could be a real attrition battle between these two decks, so we'll see how it goes. All right, jumping down to the match. Flint, if you want to let them know they can get started, we will start our second match. what are you looking forward to this match? Do you have a favorite you think? So Tom is on the play. Uh, then I didn't see if did Jared have a full 7 or did he have 6?
I didn't catch it. I'm
Okay.
messaging the players.
Okay. So Tom just leads with an island, which I don't think represents anything on Jared's turn, right? It could be important on his turn, but I don't think there's any 1 mana blue spell. And Jared is starting right away with a Duress and a Hypnotic Spectre.
Pretty good. Tom really only has 2 cards in his deck that can get rid of that. 1 Smother and 1 Recoil.
Okay. So yeah, with this coming down nice and early will could be problematic for Tom, especially because the discard from Hypnotic Spectre is random. That you're not able to kind of plan things out a few turns ahead because you might lose the key card that you're planning your next few turns around.
Absolutely. And there's the 1 Smother. Wow. All
All right.
right. Seems good.
Never didn't have it, so. We do see a Duress. This will show the hand of Tom that is a Counterspell, a Psychatog, an Underground River, a Circular Logic, and a Portent. So what are you thinking you take here?
Maybe the Counterspell.
Yeah, you could also make an argument too for Circular Logic that because 1 Psychatog does come down, which could just be next turn, that it is a cheaper counterspell, but
Yeah.
Jared elects to take the counterspell and then passes the turn. So does have a Mishra's Factory, but at this point of the game, it's I guess if you're just looking to maybe get him down to 16, it could be a strategy if you're going for the Insidious Dreams plan. But if you're spending all your turn 3 and 4 attacking for 2, I think it's probably not the most ideal thing from Jared's perspective, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's you gotta do what you gotta do.
And just think about how different this game would have been if Jared were on the play, right? He plays the Hypnotic Spectre, Tom plays a land, right? And then he untaps and he plays the Duress and he takes the Smother, and then Tom's in real trouble.
That's true, yeah. So we see a Duress get cast, but in response, Jared will fire off a Lightning Bolt and then reveal a Tainted Peak and another Hypnotic Spectre. So now we're at a point where the shields are down for Tom, but I guess he's played a Psychatog, so Jared can fight back by casting this Hypnotic Spectre. But now we're kind of in a racing situation, and I'd have to imagine Psychatog wins this race.
There's the Duress. Taking the Portent and saying, all right, my hand is empty. You can keep that Circular Logic coming in for 2 every turn in the air at least.
Yeah, now Tom, because at this point, yeah, I guess
What's
if the
your logic?
Psychatog attacks, like that leaves the way for Mishra's Factory to come back. So this is where Mishra's Factory does have a big impact. That the racing. Oh, okay, that's probably the best card. Maybe Factor Fiction, but that's probably the best card that Tom could have drawn right there. I think a second Psychatog at least prevents the Mishra's Factory from attacking. I guess maybe Intuition too could have been. But then I guess you're dealing with the Hypnotic Spectre, so kind of tricky, yeah. So at this point, the other Psychatog can at least hold off the Mishra's Factory from attacking, but the Hypnotic Spectre will still be able to chip away, and I'll update Tom's life total. He's already down to 12. So whose spot do you like better right here? It's kind of, I think Jared's slightly ahead, but I don't feel like it's by that much.
No, it's not by much.
Though interesting, like from this position, Jared like the Insidious Dreams plan comes into play a lot more because Tom's not able to hold up counter magic. So you could see a spot where Jared just builds up 3 cards in his hand, casts the Insidious Dreams, and then just wins the game. because I think a lot of times he's going to be hesitant to do that against all the counter magic from Tom. But with the Hypnotic Spectre and Tom having 0 to 1 cards in his hand, he's in pretty good shape. So the Psychatog.
He did exile 2 for 2 damage.
Okay.
All right, twinsies. Jared says, I can do that too.
All right. So how many cards in the graveyard? 1, 2,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
I mean, I think Tom just really wants a Factor Fiction here, right?
Or Gush.
Is there another card you'd want? Yeah, Gush would be good.
All right. So just 1 attack. And that one's just for 1. So
Cephalid Coliseum. All right.
yeah, but that's unfortunate that he exiled those cards just for that chip damage.
You know he drew that and he was just like, ugh.
And with the 2 flyers, and now there's a Masticore.
All right.
I don't
Might
think
see a scoop here.
there are sequences like I think Gush into Wonder or Gush into Intuition could do it. Factor Fiction and flipping Wonder might have been enough. But Tom does not find anything of value and falls to the 2 Hypnotic Spectres from Jared.
Yep. All right, let's check out the sideboards, Mike.
All right. Let's go on over. So first up we have Jared's deck with the Draco Blast. I do see some more ways to interact with the Psychatog, that whether countering it or dealing with one that has resolved in the form of Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast. I'd imagine those could come in. And then you could make an argument for, a card like Phyrexian Negator, because it does hit so hard and there's not any really damage sources.
Oh, yeah.
Though it would be pretty awkward, like if a Psychatog does come down after a Negator, it's like you're probably going to lose your entire board if you're ever swinging in with that Negator, given that Tog can kind of grow to the size of the number of permanents. So
I think if I'm Jared here, I bring in all the Negators. I think Jared's 100% the beatdown here, and he just wants to close this game out before Tom can get any kind of a graveyard presence. And Negator is just so hard for Tom to deal with, right? I mean, he can't vendetta it. We'll talk about the cards that come out of his sideboard in just a minute, but he really doesn't have a lot of answers to Negator.
okay, I mean I think I'm taking out the combo here. That's 6 cards, so 4 Insidious Dreams, Draco, and Erratic Explosion. So you could bring in. We talked about 7, so I guess if you're cutting 1 card, you could cut. You could cut Bolt. You could cut Grim Lavamancer. You could cut Masticore.
I'd probably cut a Lavamancer.
Okay,
but that may not be correct.
I think that's probably what I would do, because it's I don't know it. I think that's probably the first card I would cut.
Yeah.
Okay, over to the Tog sideboard. We have Annuls, which is a card. I mean, like there are Phyrexian Arenas and Masticores, and is that it though? I think that might be it.
Yeah.
Diabolic Edict is a card that probably comes in. I guess against any like Dark Ritual deck that is spending 2 cards to put a Hypnotic Spectre or a Negator into play. I think it's not a bad card. It is a little awkward with like the Grim Lavamancers and the Mesmeric Fiends that might kind of get in the way of taking out the creature that you really want, but I think Tom just needs more removal. The Hydroblasts I see coming in. Well, though a lot of the cards that we talked about are all black. The red cards don't seem that important, other than the Hydroblasts or the Pyroblasts. The black cards seem like the problem, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely Edict and probably Snap as well.
Yeah, and I think Neverill's Disc I think will come in.
Yeah, I like Disc as well.
It's a little bit clunky, but you might be able to get some card advantage out of it. So
Yeah. Okay.
Are there cards that you are not interested in? Vendetta?
Yeah, I'm less excited about Vendetta.
Uh,
Um,
the
I mean,
recoil, I guess. I mean, I guess it's fine. It's just a little clunky. Um, I don't know what you take out, but I guess he doesn't have. I guess it depends on how many cards he wants to bring in. So I think it's trickier for Tom to sideboard in this matchup just because the cards that he could bring in are not like super high impact, and I don't know exactly what he wants to take out. All right, let's jump back down to the match, and we'll see things how will develop for these two players as Tom gets to be on the play again.
there's that duress. Looking to take a dark ritual or an arena here.
All right, we have a hand of Negator, Mountain, Tainted Peak, Masticore, the Mishra's Factory, and a Bloodstained Mire. So he got a duress.
This is where Jared rips the dark ritual off the top of the deck. No, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, he'll just lead with the Mishra's Factory, so. Alright. Jared's second turn, he'll get a Swamp with the Bloodstained Mire. And just an attack with the Mishra's Factory.
Yeah.
Alright. No Smother, no Diabolic Edict.
Yeah, I thought about that, and I think that if you're Tom, you save the removal, right? He's probably not going to use Smother on a land.
I guess
Given
it
that,
depends on your counter magic. Like there, I would like if I have counter spells for the threats, I would probably I might do it. I mean, like your Diabolic Edict might not get better because if he always has mana to activate the land, but we do see a Negator come down, but it's staring into to open mana from Tom. I guess Tom did cycle a accumulated knowledge.
mm-hmm.
Counterspell is the answer for the Negator, so
Seems good.
for the time being, the board is clear. Right, there's 4 mana from Tom, so now he's, I don't know if threatening is the right word, but Fact or Fiction is a card that is on a potential play. We have That's an interesting spot to recoil because I'm like, it's kind of tempting to let your opponent discard cards with Masticore.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let me bring up Recoil. Always a card that I enjoyed in terms of it just as a cool little value, but I don't know, sometimes it seems like 3 mana for the effect. Just seems like a lot in my mind sometimes. All right, so the Masticore comes down again. Has another Accumulate Knowledge. This one is for 2 cards, and that will result with a mana leak.
Tom just doing a nice job of letting the turns go by, getting his mana out, building his graveyard. That's exactly what he wants to be doing. He's just kind of 1-for-1ing Jared.
Yep, if Tom can keep the board clear and then trade card for card, he'll either be able to play a card like Fact or Fiction or a big Accumulate Knowledge or slam with Psychatog and then just like close out the game. Though I guess it is a little bit, you have to be a little bit more protective of your Tog in these post-boarded games. Because Jared will have 2 Terminates and then 3 Blasts. So
Yep.
there are some answers to the Tog.
All right.
Grim Lavamancer is the threat for Jared.
It's live.
And,
it's live.
And that Mishra's Factory is still there too, so we see that come active. The Grim Lavamancer does not attack, so that's probably an indication that he wants to use its ability. How many cards are in the graveyard? Quite a bit for Jared. I mean, like, I think a lot of times I talk about the Grim Lavamancer in this Draco Blast deck, and a lot of times it feels like the first activation is pretty easy, but the other ones you have to work for. But there are quite a few. There's quite a lot of fuel in the graveyard for the Lavamancer.
Removes those lands in case the Terravor comes down. Smart play, Jared. Smart play.
So one thing that's interesting is like with the Lavamancer uses. Okay, we see a smother on the Mistress Factory. Is like, I guess if a Psychatog comes down, you're probably just worried about the game ending pretty quick. Because I would say like you might need to get your attacks in with the Lavamancer now, and then if the game does go really long, then you're able to use the, because the Psychatog might prevent the Lavamancer from attacking. But I think if Psychatog's down, then like Jared's probably in trouble. So
Jared is really flooded out here.
I mean, he still doesn't like seem to be in awful shape.
I know I don't think he's in awful shape, but he's definitely drawn a lot of lands, which Tom is very happy to see.
Well,
all right.
Okay, so Massacre is met with Counterspell, but so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in the graveyard. So there's 2 activations, so he's effectively at 7.
I like Tom's position here.
Yeah, I think Tom is favored from the spot, but I definitely could see like Jared winning this game. Right, we see a Duress, and that prompts a Factor Fiction. We will see a Swamp, Intuition, Mana Leak, Portent, and Island. So this Duress is actually pretty good here because that right, this Duress is on the stack, right? It's not in the graveyard yet.
It's on the stack, yeah.
So because you can pay for a Mana Leak, and you can't cast the Portent, and you can't cast the Intuition. So I think you want to put I don't know how you want to split this.
You put the Mana Leak with the Intuition, and then you just take the Intuition or whatever else he has in his hand.
You could say and put the Portent with the Mana Leak, and then because you can play around Mana Leak for most of the game, and then just take the Portent. And if he takes the Intuition pile, then obviously you take Intuition. So I might put Portent.
Ooh.
I might have put a land over with the Intuition.
Yeah, I don't like a 4-1 split here. Like more cards in hand is great fuel for Psychatog.
Well, I mean, the Intuition's not even good here because it would just get Duressed away.
Yeah, but I think I put one card.
Yeah,
like you said,
that's what I'm saying.
Intuition.
Like,
yeah.
There's no way that Tom can take that Intuition there. It's just not even a. It's not even a possibility. I guess it prevents. Yeah, because I guess it. No, I don't know. I don't like that split. I think. Oh, I guess there are other cards in Tom's hand that I was not considering. I was thinking that was his last card, so I guess that could change things. But okay, so the Duress took a gush. Okay.
Robin, Jared cast a Duress. He put it in his graveyard. It technically hadn't resolved yet, but Tom Factor Fictioned in response to the Duress. Yep, you got it.
I had chat hidden, so I was not keeping up with things.
We never watch closely, Robin, so it's fine. Don't worry about it.
I think this will come down to like how quickly Tom can find Psychatog. Is this
Negator?
Grim Lavamancer looks. I think this Grim Lavamancer might attack this turn. Well, certainly if he pays for Mana Leak, but
another accumulated knowledge here for Tom.
This one's for 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
We see a third counterspell.
Be a circular logic as well.
All right, so he's going to pass. He's got Tom at 7, so dead on board, but Tom clearly thinking about that for a while, so we have to assume he has some answers.
I mean, really, Tog is Tog is really like the only answer here, right? Disc is too slow. He's used the smother. Diabolic Edict isn't very good. Okay, Tom will go to 5. I guess there's Snap.
Yeah.
Orton draws a card.
Jared thinking. Yep. Got to swing him with both here. I mean, I don't know what he has in his hand, but
Maybe it's
I mean,
yeah.
you got to swing him with Lavamancer, right? Why wouldn't you?
If you had like Bolt in your hand, I don't. Okay, so you Snap. I guess like if the card, like if you're thinking that the negator would die somehow, I don't know. All right, so Snap will put the negator back in his hand, but does not solve the issue. Given that this is a circular logic now or a counterspell, 2 blue mana, accumulate knowledge for 4.
4. He's digging deep. I mean, he's got to draw a Psychatog here.
Probably.
He's seen so many cards. It's such a good answer, too. I mean, it's the only answer, but very good.
Counterspell is the answer, but I mean, there's a fetch land in play and a card in the graveyard.
Yep.
And so there's not necessarily a lot of time for here we have Fact or Fiction. I'm guessing this could be a 4/1 with a Tog in one pile.
Yeah. Definitely 4/1.
Okay. Easy Psychatog there. Now, Jared needs to draw a blast.
Yeah, all Jared has in his hand is that swamp, right?
Yes.
Okay. Ooh, this is close. It's in the deck. Get a card in the graveyard.
I mean, he could draw a Bolt. What if Erratic Explosion's still in the deck, and that's how he's going to win?
Then you get style points.
That would be pretty sweet. We got some Tog fans in the chat. But I guess this Lavamancer can soak up a Tog hit. I have to imagine.
Wonder.
Is Wonder in the graveyard? Do we know?
I don't think it's in the graveyard.
Okay.
No.
Oh.
Oh, it is. It is now.
Is there a Bolt? A Red Blast?
Is he slow rolling us?
No.
What's that card, Jared? He definitely has the cards to do it.
Hello, 90s MTG Raiders.
Hey, what's up?
Right now we are in our second match. It looks like Psychatog just took down Draco Blast for the second game to even things up. So we will have a third game to decide the winner of our second match. So let's go. Let's look at the decks just for the players that just tuned in, they can get a little bit of idea. So the Draco Blast that Jared is piloting is a red-black mid-rangey disruption, but also has a combo element, though the combo probably not being used in this matchup because of the permission from Tog. But the combo is casting Insidious Dreams and putting Erratic Explosion and Draco on top of your deck to deal 16. And then we also have the tried and true Psychatog, which probably a lot more people are familiar with. But the classic Dr. Teeth, just lots of permission and card draw, and then you can land and play a Psychatog and look to quickly close out the game. So we saw game 1 go to Jared after some Hypnotic Specters whittled away at Tom's hand and then flew over for the rest of the damage. And the second game was a lot of threats presented by Jared, and I think they were pretty much all answered by Tom pretty effectively. And Tom just hung on there with a little bit of life until he finally found a Psychatog. He went through about half of his deck before he found the Tog, and then was able to quickly win the game. All right,
All right.
I guess so. The thing with Tom's list, so I guess his one interaction piece on 1 mana is Duress. Because Jared has 2 turns of basically not having to worry about counter magic. But I guess he can't really, like, without Dark Ritual, he can't really take advantage of his second turn that well. And if he has Dark Ritual, he probably is doing it on turn 1. So
Yeah, I think it's important to note that Jared has not been on the play yet in this matchup, and like I had alluded to earlier, it is much more powerful for him to be doing things on the first turn compared to after Tom already gets a turn. So we'll see, what he's keeping here. He's looking at his opening hand. I mean, if I were Jared here, I'd be mulliganing pretty aggressively to try to get a first turn play, especially one that's disruptive, like a Hypnotic Spectre would be amazing. But we'll see what he does. Boom.
right.
There it is. All right.
Looks like disruption has been found.
I think that might be the best play that he could do, especially if he follows it up with a Duress here.
I mean, Negator's pretty close too. I mean, I guess there's more answers, and like the disruption element could be really problematic. So I guess on average, maybe Hypnotic Spectre is better.
Yeah, I think he just needs a little bit of disruption, right? Like the pressure will come. It's just he needs to take away some of those answers. There's a counter spell, so that's good. But I mean, a card like a Snap here, or obviously a Smother and Edict would be great for Tom.
But there's only 1 copy of Snap and 1 copy of Smother, so
yeah.
we see a Psychatog get discarded.
Oh, Dr. Teeth, no. Yet somewhere the other Togs are crying.
Psychatog's still smiling though. He's a very good sport about all this.
He's got a PhD in resilience.
Yes.
We definitely have some love for Tog in chat from Anthony.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I feel like I guess I was not into competitive Magic, like when Psychatog was like a standard menace, but I feel like it would just be like the most hated deck by far, like in today's measures. Like, but now he's kind of the hero. I don't know if it's just because too much time has passed, or if he feels like he's a little bit of an underdog in the pre-modern world.
I mean, he definitely was hated back in the day, right? But he just hasn't had much of a spotlight, I would say, at least in our monthlies. And so it is cool to see the deck win. just given that it has such a history, right? It's kind of like when people come into the format and they're like, oh, I'm going to play Tricks because that deck was dominant, right? And then it just isn't great, right? But Psychatog, I feel like, at least this iteration and Tom piloting it, has had a fair amount of success that I don't think you or I would have anticipated, maybe a year or two ago.
Yeah. So Jared goes for a Grim Lavamancer, and then Tom had a Mana Leak at the ready, but Jared had one black, a Swamp Up, and he was able to cast Dark Ritual to get 3 mana to pay. So quite an investment for the Grim Lavamancer. I guess that would probably mean that there aren't that many threats in Jared's hand. It seems like quite a commit. I guess because here, like Grim Lavamancer doesn't seem nearly as good as it was in the other game. But I guess if Jared's just looking to close out the game, maybe the Lavamancer will do enough.
All right. So Spectre connecting again. Seems good. I think Tom's all right letting that one go.
All right, accumulated knowledge. I will just exchange cards. So, I mean, I guess Psychatog here. Another Psychatog could be okay. But it's hard for Tom because, like, if he has any key cards in his hand. Ooh, casting Duress, okay. So Duress will prompt a Bolt.
A Ritual and a Terminate.
Yeah, this looks problematic for Tom. Here is an accumulated knowledge. This will get 2 cards this time.
Yep. Another card that's cool to see actually doing its thing and doing it well.
All right.
Oh.
It's a disc. I guess that would have been okay there. I guess, well, yeah, because end of turn he'll go to 6, and then he could go to 2. So the disc, okay. But I guess okay, so there is Wonder in the graveyard, right?
Yeah, there's a Wonder in the graveyard.
Okay. So now it's, can you get, ooh, I think Jared forgot about this Wonder. Oh, no. Or maybe it's just is the Psychatog lethal?
I don't know. Tom's at, or Jared's at 17? I don't
Yeah.
think it's lethal.
Then it seems like, did both players just miss the blocking?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Well, because now he's just dead, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he'll go to 2 and he'll discard a card during the upkeep, and then there's 2. Oh.
Interesting.
Huh. All right, well, let's quick listen into our players.
Helped. It would have helped. I definitely didn't bring in any overloads for just that one desk, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I took out the Vendettas with minimal targets.
I mean, they have Grim Lavamancers, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But the Lavamancer didn't work those games. He was on a roll.
It was. That's pretty sick.
I'm sure they want us to unmute. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
Great.
Tom, do you know how big your Psychatog would have got at the end there?
Enormous. Oh wait, that last game?
Yeah.
I
Oh, I
had
don't get that big.
I guess you didn't have any cards in hand.
no. I think I had 8 cards in my graveyard.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'Cause,
no,
well,
it wasn't that big.
4.
You had a Wonder in the graveyard, right?
I did.
Yeah,
Okay.
you did. Yeah, it wasn't much.
Yeah, I needed that disc to stay in hand. That would have bought me. Actually, that would have been huge.
Yeah, if you could have resolved the disc, and then I could have. Trying to remember what turn that was.
I think Jared would have been able to get you to 2. I think if you played the disc with
And then I
Hypnotic.
would have been able to play. Then I played the Master Core right afterwards. I could have after he
I think so.
did the disc, maybe. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, I mean, I think I was a little surprised to win game 1, but I also didn't draw like any of the combo pieces, and I knew that an early Dark Ritual was going to probably. I mean, an early hippie against both his decks was kind of what I was looking for. Because he had so little creature removal in I mean nothing in the Devourer deck, and I'm pretty sure that an uninterrupted hippie against Devourer probably just can just knock him dead. So that's kind of what I was looking for in most hands. And
yes. Wait, in the matches I've lost with Psychatog, I've lost to like turn 1 Dark Ritual 4 times.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, that's just really good against most decks, but I feel like Psychatog can't just beat that. Like game 1, you had the Dark Ritual into hippie, correct?
Yeah, and you had the
And
smother
game 3
for it, but then
was,
I followed up with like a bunch of 2 more hippies after that.
yeah, that was rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got my little tally sheet going. The damn Dark Rituals, man, it's rough times. I know, unreal, right? No, me and Jared were talking like the whole time. It was like it was really tight. Like Grim Lavamancer was a house. Like it was really, really good. I even considered keeping in Vendetta, but it's just so bad. Against like all the black creatures and stuff like that. But yeah, the Lavamancer was really good. It was better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I didn't think it
was.
would get that many activations out of it, but it definitely had a lot of food
Yeah.
second game.
Yeah, that was nuts.
I mean, he also just like with so little creature removal. Like I was just like, just go for it, because I was sure he was pretty sure he was bringing out Vendetta in game 2, and so I figured that the Lavamancer had a good chance of hanging around, and then he almost got there. I just kept throwing things out and seeing what he countered. Basically, kept throwing it and see what stuck. But you got that game with the big old Pog, and you had the AKs going, so that was huge to refill your hand. Yeah. But yeah, I boarded out the combo just because he has too many counter spells.
Yeah.
He moves in. Did you board in Hydro Blast or no?
I did not.
No. I bet you could probably kind of guess that I was probably boarding it out. So like Hydro Blast probably isn't as good in that situation.
Yeah, it's got the targets against like hitting the Pyroblast. I mean, hitting your Pyroblast and killing the Lavamancer, but I don't know, I feel like it's too like I don't know, corner case.
Too narrow.
I didn't feel comfortable bringing them in, and I was like, I'm not gonna bring in 1 or 2. Like,
Yeah.
Like you bring, yeah, I didn't think it was good enough.
Yeah, you're just all counter spell. So like the that part of the combo of the Draco is not very good in that regard. It's just either 2 for 1 yourself or 3 for 1 yourself if they counter the Insidious Dreams, or you set it all up and then all of a sudden Erratic Explosion, they counter that. Like it's just you've done nothing and you have Draco hanging out on top of your deck for your next turn, which is just terrible. So I was just like, I'm gonna win on the ground. I'm gonna win dudes and the hippies and negators and just see how it goes. And it worked out that way. So again, no spoilers for the first match. I'm gonna go back and watch it right now, so don't spoil anything for me.
All right.
I know it goes to game 3, so that's good. That's enough. I mean, I have good. I'm looking forward to watching a good match. But other than that, like no spoilers. I like to go back and watch it.
All right.
Fair enough.
Did You guys any questions for us about the match, or?
I don't really. I mean, Jared kind of already explained. I felt like you kind of talked about that you liked the Hypnotic Spectre against either his deck, so I think that kind of led you down the path of picking the Draco Blast deck. Tom, was there any, like, did you feel like it was close between Devour or Tog, or did you debate either of those, or did you?
For a short time, but Devour's bad against goblins actually. Especially with the red green variant, and then it's really bad against like just duress decks. So I was like, I just didn't feel good with that, and yeah, I felt like Psychatog was pretty good against both. Like goblins could be a rough one, but I felt comfortable playing that. I thought Jared was going to play goblins. So yeah, I don't know. I wanted to give Psychatog some more face time.
Sure.
Yeah, I banned his goblins just because I didn't want to play and have a potential of a mirror match.
Yeah, we were joking about that.
We were talking about it before. Not to mention, he would be favored if that mirror match happened because he has more Goblin Kings.
He does have a lot of Goblin Kings. But, I mean, I guess if the board is stalled, then he can do it. But I mean, like, it's hard to kind of curve out in a Goblin King because if you spend 3 mana to get a few guys through, you have a whole turn to like play a ringleader or a war chief or something with the mountain walk. So it is a little bit awkward for both sides. So
yeah, I just figured like oh wait, it's all goblins get +1/+1, right?
It's and mountain walk. Yeah, it's both.
I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he just holds it in his hand and plays it like an overrun.
Yeah, but then I'm like, then you have like 4 of them. Yeah, it just seems like a lot. So yeah.
It's funny how they templated cards back then. It was just going to become madness. I just said, I don't want to deal with that. And with Tom and I were talking beforehand how like it's very it was one of the great things about this format is that a mirror match is very unlikely. You're not. It's just like there's so many viable decks. So like actually having a mirror is not going to show up all the time. Very infrequently. I think it's probably count the number of times in one hand, that I've actually played a mirror match.
I'm trying to think how many times, like, just even in the monthlies that I've played mirrors. I do not feel like it's very often.
The 2.5 years or 3 years now I've been playing Premodern, I think I haven't played a mirror ever.
I've definitely played a blue-white landstill mirror.
Ugh.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, I played a landstill mirror and I played a Sligh mirror.
But one of those was a lot faster than the other.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
We were also saying too, mirror matches, like, I don't know how, I don't think they're that interesting. Like, I just don't think they're interesting. I don't really like playing mirror matches either. It's like something I'm not interested in doing.
Yeah. I mean, some people love it because it's like it's really about like it's really skill intensive and like knowing like the each deck perfectly and what is the card. But you can say that about any matchup. I just like to have like to know, your role is more defined if it's a different kind of matchup, right? If you're playing a non-mirror match, like knowing who the beatdown is the mirror match, especially an aggro mirror match, is really important. Whereas, if you just know, like, I have goblins, you have Psychatog, I'm the beatdown, you're the control. Like, the roles are easier to assign than in a mirror match where you really can become pretty swingy. But anyway, so all right.
Well, the games were really fun to watch. I mean,
good,
like super close. The last one maybe not quite as close, just given the opener and the lack of answers for Tom, but. I think chat really enjoyed it as well. And it was cool to see. It's always cool to see Psychatog, right? Just given the nostalgia of the deck, certainly. So
yeah, I think it's cool. I wish I could make some of the changes I want to do, but like for this event, but I think it's really good. Yeah, I just wish I made some of the adjustments before like now I'd probably make like 5 or 6 changes, which I think might help. But
I just put the deck together, and I was thinking one of the things that it really needs is Powder Keg as a way to like answer wide threats, especially in an elves and goblins dominated meta. Like it's a really good answer for that because it can kill a bunch of creatures at once, and it you can play it proactively as well. Because I mean, and I just don't know what the right spells or what the right creature kill is. Like Vendetta for 1 mana is very good, but if you face against black creatures, it doesn't do anything, or like it doesn't do much against Dreadnought. They still take 12, but it is good against pretty much. It's good against like Goblin Lackey, and then like some others good against some things, and it's not good against others. And like same thing with the Diabolic Edict versus the Ghastly Demise. Like they all have pros and cons. Not to mention Terror. Which is in the format too. We need a good old like It's just all over the place. Go
I
ahead.
was just waiting for Tom to run out that unholy grotto. That's
That's funny.
catch us all by surprise again.
super
Like, what the
secret
hell is
tech
that doing
surprise.
with Psychatog? That's like a fill in the wind move. I'd play that and then like trickery charm my Psychatog to make it a zombie.
There you go.
Gotcha.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Really fun games to watch.
Yep. All right. So we'll wrap things up. And all right, Flint. So let's move to our schedule. Looking forward to next week. We have John going up against Ron. So those are two players that are 2-1. And then we have Ben up against Brian. I believe those are players that are both 1-2. So we will have, because right now we have Jared's 3-1, and so is. Oh, I guess I don't want to say if Jared's still listening. I don't want to give any spoilers. So I don't know if he muted me, but so I
No
guess
spoilers,
I'll
Mike.
save him. But yeah, so we can look forward to the match that we have later this week, as our players are all scrambling to try and get to that top 4 spot by the end of the 7th week. So we see a little bit of separation for some of the players, but also it's still anybody's game. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you for the subscriptions that we had, the follows. Thank you for the raters that we had. Hopefully, if you're new to Premodern, that you can find some resources or find some enjoyable old school Magic to watch. But I want to thank everybody who is a part of this. We're having a lot of fun, and we hope you are as well. Do you want to add anything, Flint, before we call it a night?
Just thanks for the raids to 90s MTG and Rich Bork. We appreciate that. I hope that people found it interesting, and if this was your first glance at Premodern, definitely check it out. Join the Facebook groups, play in the monthlies. We'd love to have you. It's a really fun and diverse format.
All right. So thanks again for everyone for a great night, and we hope to see you Thursday. But until then, take care.
Bye, everybody.